On today's Church TechCast screencast show, transparencies and motion backgrounds. The ChurchTechCast.com screencast show is generously provided for by viewers like you. Thank you. Head on over to patreon.com/PaulAllenCliff. That's patreon.com/PaulAllenCliff, and you can support the show for as little as $1 a month. Every little bit helps, so thank you. Okay, so after much ado, I had a camera driver issue. Actually thought I started streaming and then I didn't. All kinds of craziness. But today, I want to talk about using transparency in ProPresenter 5. Now, I've touched on this earlier, but I got a call from Naples, Florida, from someone who had this very question, and so I thought that I would share it. Now, first off, I don't have any videos with transparency in this demonstration, so you'll have to kind of trust me on the fact that it works. But as long as you've got a recent enough Mac, I don't know that this works in the PC version. Remember, the PC version was coded after the Macintosh version, and despite what some people would have you believe, there is an operating system level difference, and that is that Apple has created something called Core Video. And Core Video allows programmers to access video functions very easily that are difficult to access in Windows. So, I'm not saying it's impossible to do, I just know that it's a lot easier to do on the Mac, to do this kind of thing. So, I think that's probably why the PC version of ProPresenter isn't all that good at a few things. And this is, I don't know that this is officially supported. So if you want to go and see what I did earlier, I've got an earlier video. I'll include a link in the show notes below, and you can absolutely go ahead and find that link to the video where I have transparent foreground on top of a solid background, both of them being video. Again, this is Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com, and my Twitter handle is Paul Allen Cliff, PaulAllencliff. So let's head on over to my ProPresenter screen, and I'll show you just basically some things that you can do. So here we are, and I just want you to see this. I've paused this background video because basically this computer doesn't like all the things I was throwing at it. It's about 3 years old, so in computer time it's getting a little long in the tooth, and I'm sad about that, but it happens. So anyway, imagine that this is a moving background, because it is. I've just paused it just for the effect, and I've got all these different foregrounds here. Let me first remove this there. Okay, so I've got all these different lyrics, and you know how that works. Well, so what if you wanted to put the church logo in the lower right hand corner? Now, I don't have the church logo with me, but I do have the logo for TrinityDigitalMedia.com and ChurchTechCast.com. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this props thing, and then I'm going to click on this prop to activate it, and you'll notice in this corner up here that I have a little logo. And what you can also notice is that there is a transparent spot, and also that there's nothing around this. So that's lesson number 1 here. I'm going to actually start the video so that you can see the motion. I hope that doesn't gack up the thing, but you can see the motion behind it, that this in fact does have transparency. Now, The reason that this has transparency is that that is a PNG file. P, N is in Nancy, G is in Gary. So that's short for Portable Network Graphics. And that's the advantage of the PNG file type, is it can include transparency and it can be higher quality than a GIF or GIF, depending on who you talk to. The creator of the GIF calls them GIFs, although it's short for graphic interchange format, so you would expect it to be a hard G. Who knows? Anyway, so you could use either a GIF or you could use a PNG for this, but you're going to get a better quality image with the PNG. That's a still. And let me show you how I actually put that on here. First I went into this edit here. And let me move this window out of the way so that you can see. And what I did is I clicked on add image to slide. If you wanted to add a video to the slide, you could do that by clicking add video to slide. And then you just navigate to wherever the video is. I did that by adding the image to the slide, and I navigated to where this logo was. Okay, so that will do that, is having transparency on a still, and you'll notice that it's over here, and because this is a black logo against this black background, you can't really see it, but I could scale this down, I can scale it up. You can see that you can see it much better when it's scaled up than when it's scaled down. Teeny tiny. So that is how I added that in. And this could, in fact, since this is a prop layer, this could be, a prop layer is a persistent layer. So I would use this for a bug like this logo that is persistent on the screen. If I just wanted it up there temporarily, I think I would use either a foreground, or I would edit the slide and add a foreground video to a particular slide, depending on what I was trying to do. Now, creating these, let me go ahead and I'm going to take that out and shut that down and shut this down. So adding them on a per slide basis, you would just right click here on this particular slide and you could click on edit slide, and again we could put the still image in, and let's see here, logo.1, not sure this is the one with transparency. Oh, it is. Okay, so if I put this in on the slide, per slide basis, well, I didn't want to scale. Hold on. There we go. So if I put it on this particular slide instead of on the props layer, so let's shut that off and let me go to that slide, and you'll notice it's there. So on this particular slide it looks like it's the same, but look what happens when I click on the next slide. It goes away. So that's why you would want to use the props layer. The props layer is a persistent layer on top of everything versus the per slide layer, which is not. Now, you could imagine actually having these lyrics, having a setup where the lyrics are off of the screen so that you can use it for the stage view, you could have the lyrics off the screen and have a motion kind of foreground and put that as a prop. And you could have several props. So you could have a prop on each song that would do that. A little kludgy. I wouldn't recommend it. The way that I've always done it is on the per slide, and then we just have another computer that does the stage display. And that seems to work really, really well. So I think that's what I would recommend as far as that. Now let's talk about formatting a video for transparency. I'm going to come back to myself because I really don't have any more over here at ProPresenter. So, okay, so to format a video for transparency, the only codec that I know that works, remember a codec is a set of instructions that a video uses to compress and decompress the video. So the codec that I would use is not the default one, which is H.264. Remember in an earlier video I told you that the best way to format for ProPresenter 5 is to use H.264, 70% quality, etc., using MPEG stream clip. That's what the Renewed Vision people recommend. That will not get you transparency though. An H.264 is like a JPEG in a still image format. It's the workhorse. It'll give you good quality at a low file size, but that's not what you want here. What you want here is you want transparency, and an H.264 file just throws that information away, so it wouldn't work at all to create a file like that. What you need to do is you need to create a file that is a ProRes, P-R-O-R-E-S, ProRes, short for professional resolution. How strange. ProRes 4444. Now what those fours mean is there's a lower quality version of ProRes called ProRes 422, which is still much larger than an H.264. But I don't want to get too geeky on you. Basically, ProRes 422 doesn't use as much information. It throws away some of the color information, and your eye probably can't see it. If you're particularly adept at video and you've done it a long time, you might be able to see it. But most people just can't tell the difference, even A-B comparison between the two. It's just very subtle. So it saves you a lot of file size. Lower file sizes play better on older hardware, so that's helpful. I used to do a lot of editing in ProRes 422 LT, which is even lower end. But what you need is ProRes 4444. And ProRes 4444 includes all the possible video information. The last four is transparency. So 422 is red, green, and blue RGB, the RGB color space. How much of that information? I believe that, I'm going off the top of my head here, I believe that the first four is red, and green and blue are 2. So it's half the information for the other 2 channels, but it can interpolate based on adjacent pixels. But what you need is you need all the information, including the fourth channel, which is a transparency channel, and you need not half the information, you need every last bit of it. So that codec is ProRes 4444. So that's 4 fours because it's 16-bit. See how that works? Okay. I think that's right. I think it's 16-bit. Again, doing it off the top of my head, and I can't remember numbers worth anything. Okay, so the fourth 4 is the transparency information, and 4 is the total amount of information. So there are codecs that are like 421 codecs, or 422, or 411, stuff like that. You need 4444. And when you make that, you can make it in Apple's Motion, you can make it in After Effects, you can even buy some of these files, but they're going to be larger. So for example, we had a probably 15-second lower third that I didn't make myself, but I was there when it was being made, and 15 seconds, normally a 15-second little video in H.264 is like a meg, maybe. I mean, it's very small. This one was, I want to say 40 megs, because it included the transparency information. The original thought was, oh well, we'll just email this to you. Until we saw how big it was, which 40 megs is not very big with broadband speeds, but email doesn't necessarily like very large attachments. We'll see that in OS X Yosemite they've fixed that problem, doing a couple of workarounds. Mac to Mac it's easy, but Mac to PC it actually uploads and sends a link. But larger file sizes are difficult to send in email, so that's one limitation. You might actually have a problem with, if you don't have much free hard drive space on the computer that you're doing this with, and you've got a longer video with transparency, then that could potentially just be too much for the hard drive, and you might need to clean off some space. So that's why you don't want to use ProRes 4444 for, say, the message, because it's going to be 100 gigs. It's going to be huge. But for something with transparency, like a lower third, a bug, just anything that you need transparency to go along with, then it's going to be a pretty good little thing to do. So I think in general, you're going to want your videos that have transparency to be shorter rather than longer. Now, we've done it with 3 to 5 minute videos that are, we basically make in After Effects or Motion, that have their words that augment what's going on stage, so lyrics, etc. And those are ProRes 4444 files that are put on top of a motion background, and that works perfectly fine. But you do have some limitations, because as I say, this is a bit of a hack. I don't think that it's officially supported, and the problem is the transport controls, the play, and they work for the motion background, but they do not work for the foreground video. So you have to start it at the beginning and end it at the end. I guess you could end it early, but you can't like go halfway through the foreground video and start it. That just doesn't work. So that's one of the limitations there on that particular use of a transparent video as a foreground video. So I hope that that helps you. If you have any questions, comments, snide remarks, head on over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/contact. You can leave those there. You can always leave questions or comments below in the comment bar, and I would just love to interact with you. You can also drop me a line, paul@trinitydigitalmedia.com. 1-877-763-3246 is the phone number. That's 1-877-POD-ECHO if it helps you to remember it. And that will just enable you to ask your questions, leave your comments as well. And if you forget any of the contact information is at trinitydigitalmedia.com/contact. Nice and easy. Don't forget to subscribe to the show. You can subscribe either in YouTube or go over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/subscribe. Click on any of the boxes that you see. If I've remembered to highlight them, they will take you to previous episodes, the next episode, other shows that I do, and you can subscribe in YouTube as well. Until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com. Go out and change eternity.